podcast.
Very good.
There we go. Well, I'll introduce myself first. My name is Vincent Miles. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I live in Minnesota. And I am super excited to connect with my sister, Deena Miles. And Deena, introduce yourself. Let us know who you are.
I'm Deena Miles, of course. I'm Vince's sister, and I live in Texas. Well, I'm not a clinical psychologist, but I do have a degree in architecture, and I work in various other industries.
I'm excited to do this podcast. We've been talking about it for probably like 3 or more years, and it felt like the right time. I don't know why, but it felt like the right time now.
Yes, it feels like the right time. A little bit more time. We're a little bit more knowledgeable. And, hey, the world's interested in knowing about us anyway.
That's right. Well, Deena, do you want to introduce the name of our podcast? Let us know what we're calling it and why.
Our podcast name is Between Two Miles. See, a miles and a miles. We have a lot of different miles in our family, and they all have different aspects of their personality, different aspects of their course of study, whatever they studied in school. So we just figured that putting it between two miles, we can always have a lot of different types of conversations between 2 miles.
I think you're nailing it. I'm super excited about this because one of the things I remember you saying a while back was that if we had a rotating cast of people and we used the Miles family, every conversation, you could pick the same topic and have two of us talk about the same topic, and it would be different every time.
Mm-hmm. And it'll be fun and full of laughter for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, how's your weather down there? Why don't we start there? Because I'm Minnesotan at the end of the day, so we have to ask about the weather.
Well, today it's 56 degrees with an Arctic blast coming out of the Minnesota way. Starting tomorrow, we'll be down in the teens, with Monday anticipating we'll have some snow. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there we go. You're welcome. You're welcome. I think we're sitting right around freezing right now. I think we're at 32 or 33.
Hmm.
I try not to look at the weather this time of the year. It's never really that optimistic, so I don't know what tomorrow's like.
Well, we know that I won't be up there for sure.
That's right. That's true. That's true. So you're in Texas. I'm in Minnesota. We've got some distance between us, and part of the aim of this podcast is also maybe to bridge that distance a little bit.
Hmm.
Try to learn a little bit more about you. You can learn about me. We can laugh. We can do all the things. So I tried to put together some questions, and you know that. So the first question that I want to just kind of ponder upon and know about, you're an amazing cook. I want to know what you've been cooking.
Well, thank you so much for saying I'm an amazing cook. I learned it from my grandmother, watching her many years cooking on the other side of the counter because we were not allowed to come in the kitchen, but we could view. So I learned a lot of my cooking techniques just by watching. And then when I moved out on my own, away from home, and actually having to put that into practical practice, I learned a lot more about cooking techniques from Rachel Ray, watching her on TV, knowing you can get a meal together in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So what I cooked last night was some, and I'm a little fancy too, so put that in there. I cooked some Wagyu filet mignon
Oh man. Oh man.
with just a little baked sweet potato, just a little light something since it was late in the evening and a little side salad.
Just a little taste of sweet
Yeah,
potato.
that was yesterday's meal.
Oh man, you made some Wagyu steak for me the last time you visited. That was like 2 months ago. I can still taste it. Like it's still there. It's locked in my brain right now.
And that is exactly why I cooked it. I ordered it from the same company because I could still taste it. I had
Hmm.
never had Wagyu beef with all that marbling in it, and this was Australian Wagyu.
Yep.
So, and it was just so soft and delectable. I was like,
Hmm.
I need to have that again.
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
it was
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah. So shout out to Australian Wagyu beef, who might be one of our sponsors in the future. Who
All
knows?
right, West Home, that's the company.
There we go. So you made that. That was last night. What else have you been cooking? Anything else that's really been like a favorite dish recently?
Well, since it is now cold, let me say this, southern cold,
Yeah.
people always expect me to make gumbo
Mm-hmm.
because I am originally, and our family is originally from Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't, I just haven't done it. I ain't break out no pot to cook that gumbo. I let my other brother do it, and it turned out pretty good. But recently, since it's just past the holidays, we opted to have a seafood Christmas.
Okay.
So a Christmas of the seven fishes, like the Italians. So we had
Mm-hmm.
the salmon, and
There we go.
let me see, what else did I make? Oh, I made a seafood dressing, and I made some barbecue shrimp, and I think we had um, gumbo, of course. We may have had etouffee. I can't remember
Okay.
because it was so much food, but it was all seafood. That was the theme.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those are some of the things I've been cooking, and then ribs and chicken. Just to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Add
It
in
was,
those staples.
yeah, a little seafood macaroni,
Yep.
just a couple of things. But coming into the new year, trying not to do too much because I
Mm-hmm.
want to. As everyone starts the new year, what do? We start in the gym with fitness,
Yep.
and we all say we're going to lose weight and start a new regime. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Doesn't always work out, but we try, right?
well, it
Try to.
worked out for me today. I was in
Okay.
the gym at 9 o'clock this morning.
Hey,
I sure
bravo.
was.
Bravo. Good job. Nice work. Um, I wasn't, and that's okay.
And that's okay. You walk up and down stairs at your
Mm,
house. So
I
you get
do.
a
I
little
do. I move a
exercise.
lot. So, you mentioned some dishes, and I think this is one of those interesting pieces that's going to be probably a recurring piece if we keep doing episodes together. You're a foodie. You love food. You cook. You're fantastic at crafting kind of that perfect dish and that perfect meal.
Hmm.
Um, but you're also, you're from the South. You're in Texas. We're from Louisiana.
Hmm.
I live in the North. Our
Hmm.
dishes are different. Our dishes are bland at times. Our dishes, I'll say it. I'll say it. They're not as expressive.
Hmm.
And one of the things, I remember when I was young, coming down and visiting with you, visiting with our dad. I was introduced to a world of food that every single, even the names of the food was like over my head most of the time.
Hmm.
Whether we were talking about, even gumbo, jambalaya, etouffee, boudin balls, all of that was foreign to me.
Hmm.
So, what do you know about food in the North? Let me just throw that out there. What do you think of when you think of like a traditional Northern Upper Midwest fare?
Well, I'm not so germane that I haven't been in the North
Mm-hmm.
because I was born in Omaha, Nebraska, and I lived there for a time.
Mm-hmm.
So I know northern food, since it is a more of a colder climate, most of the time it's more hearty.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more hearty dishes, and you have like a potato soups. You have like roast beefs, stews, and things like that. Keep
Mm-hmm.
you warm and hearty and stuff like that.
Yep.
And then I met a lot of Northerners that are on health kicks, so they like a lot of root vegetables and all this hippity dippy thing.
Yeah. Technical term. Yep.
And yeah, and it's nothing wrong with that, but it's things that like juxtaposition. In the North, it's cream of wheat.
Mm-hmm.
In the South, it's grits.
Grits. Yep.
Totally different. May have came from the same thing, kind of, sort of. They look the same, but it's not the same
No.
at all.
No.
So,
Prepared
or
entirely differently too.
pumpkin pie. No, no. Sweet potato pie in the
Yeah.
South. They
Yeah.
look the same. They do not taste the same.
Yeah.
So there are some differences and things, but it's all good. I
Yeah.
just tell the northern folks, when you season your food, you need to see it. If
Yes.
you ain't seeing it, it ain't seasoned. And then if you
Mm-hmm.
really want to get to it, if you're not sneezing, it's not seasoned. Okay,
There we go. Those might be the taglines for our podcast right there.
there you go.
Love it. Um, yeah, and I enjoy cooking. You know, I think I've told you this before. I feel like I go in like fits and spurts though of like sometimes I'm really into cooking and I want to make a lot of different things,
Mm-hmm.
and then that passion kind of falls off for a while and I come
Mm-hmm.
back to it. So I feel like I'm on the back end of kind of it's fallen off, but it's starting to come back. You know,
Okay,
I think
good.
lately I've been like hitting up Costco and grabbing all of their pre-made stuff that's just part of what's easiest in our family to kind of
Mm-hmm.
get something together. But then every once in a while I'll start looking at it and be like, oh, I can make that better. I can do that better. And so then my brain starts going again, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna craft something. I'm gonna make some dish, and I won't even throw out anything because I can't think of anything right now that I've made in the
Mm-hmm.
last couple of weeks. But I'll make something that's even better, a curry or something, and really
Mm-hmm.
embellish it, really go after it. But I agree with you. In the north, it's heartier. It's heartier food.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of grains, a lot of pastas, and wheats and all kinds of other stuff.
Well, that's what
Less
we
of like
grow.
the rice.
That's where we grow all of our grains and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
all of those vegetables and stuff come from the Midwest and the North.
Yep.
It's not necessarily in the South. We have like other products for like cotton and rice and things like that,
Yep.
and then other things, oil, seafood, because we're closer to the Gulf or water where you don't have that there. You'll have like a river fish or something, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not the same
Yeah.
as what we will have down there. So yeah, I mean it's okay. I don't discriminate against anything. I'll try anything once, and then I may um, look and be like,
Mm-hmm.
"That's interesting.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
add some seasoning." And another thing that my brother loves to do whenever I visit. And there's a new restaurant that opened in the area that
Mm-hmm.
touts that they're Creole. He has to take me to it
Mm-hmm.
to get my stamp of approval
Yep.
to see if it's really authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll just sit there and wait on bated breath until I
Yes.
take the first bite to see, is
Yep.
it,
Yep.
is it,
And we just wait. We just
you
hold
know?
that breath, kind of.
Mm, not quite.
Yep.
But when we get home, I'll remake that for you so you know what it really tastes like.
I know. I know. It is hard. It's hard. It's one of those terms, Creole and Cajun food that kind of gets loosely used. That phrase, that term, kind of sounds like it should mean something,
Hmm.
but it doesn't always mean the exact same thing in different regions. So.
Yeah, and a lot of times people, and this may be because in the North people are not accustomed to much seasoning. They associate Cajun and Creole food with actually burning their mouths up.
Hmm.
It's like, oh my God, Cajun is just so hot. It's oh. But that's not what it is. If you get some food from the South and it says Cajun or Creole, and you take the first bite and it just burns your whole mouth out, that's wrong. Because the food in the South, it's so complex, especially I'll say Louisiana for sure. It's very complex. It takes a lot of different ingredients. It's a lot of simmering and developing of flavors and things like that. So when you put it in your mouth, those same things are supposed to develop in your mouth.
Yep.
And it may get warmer over time if it's made right. It'll get warmer over time so that you can fully enjoy
Hmm.
that whole plate and not you take the first bite and you burnt the first part of
Yep.
your tongue.
Yep.
So that's what it's supposed to be like.
Yes, yeah. There's at times kind of a range of that heat, that spice, but it's more of like an experience. It's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times I've heard kind of cooking in general, but especially Southern cooking, kind of talked about a little bit more as like storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
There's this experience where the start to the finish to everything in between, it takes you somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I've experienced that eating food. I've experienced that eating your food.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that is one of those kind of pieces where up here there is a pretty low spice tolerance. And I have a fantastic, I love spice. I love eating everything, whether it burns my mouth or not, I enjoy it. But I agree with you. When it's so spice forward that you don't get to enjoy anything else,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's missed the mark.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's correct.
if we've got some cooks out there, some people in the restaurant industry, keep that in mind. Tell a story with your spice.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there are other cultures who also have very spicy notes to their food too. But it's the same thing. If you look at them when they're cooking it,
Hmm.
it does take a lot of time to develop those flavors to get
Yeah.
there. It's not uh, just thrown in. It's a lot of thought process that comes behind it, and even the positioning and the timing of when you put it in
Hmm.
and do it. It's a lot of steps. That's why a lot of people tell me, "Well, I would love to learn how to cook, but it's so many steps." And you're so organized, but it's like if you know what goes where, and prep is always important too. If you prep everything, all your seasons and everything, your meat's already marinated and ready to go, then as
Yep.
you're building, it's like building a house. You got a foundation, but before you can put the foundation down, you got to prep the ground
Yeah. Yep.
and all the substructures that go under there. Then you put the foundation, and once that's strong, then you start building up on that. So food is the same way. So as you can see, everything in my brain is always about
No,
architecture.
I was gonna say that sounds like an architect speaking right there.
Yeah, it's always about that.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure we circle back to that idea of kind of architecture and maybe the influences it's really had in your life, because
Mhm.
I think that would be a fascinating conversation. So we'll
Mhm.
get there. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any like other meals that I've really enjoyed recently, and nothing's really coming to my mind. I think I need to go out and eat at some new places.
Mhm. Well, that's good. I really don't like to eat out because I know I can make it better.
Okay.
And whenever I do eat out, it's gonna be something where it's an emergency
Mm-hmm.
and I just got trapped out and I won't make it home for a while. And then I just go pick up a kid's meal. So yeah,
Yeah.
I just need something
Yeah.
to because I've had experiences where it's like, oh my God, I'm so hungry and I really want to go eat. Then you get there and you're like, what is and I
Yes.
gotta pay for this? You charging for this? No.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
And then my other option, if I really want to make a mindful decision to go eat out, I'll go to a 5-star restaurant because it is supposed to be elevated dining.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they may take a little bit more of the steps and time of what I'm used to. Because when I cook, it is elevated dining.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I may get a little bit more depths and layers of flavor. And then I also like presentation. I like for my food to be presented to me because we eat with our eyes first.
Yeah. So true. So true. And that can make or break an entire meal.
It
How
sure
it's
can.
how it's plated, how it's presented, just the colors, whether they're popping or not, like all of that.
I mean, even if I go get a hamburger, if I go to a fast food restaurant and you got this picture while I'm at the drive-through, and you're saying that this hamburger's gonna look like this, and I get around the corner and you give me something that looked like you threw on the floor, stepped on it, and slid it around, then you threw it. I don't want that.
Yep.
I'm gonna pull around and go inside and say, what is this?
Hmm. Hmm.
No, I don't want this.
Yeah. It feels like sometimes the truth in advertising doesn't really pertain in the restaurant industry so much. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they have these glamorous, overdone pictures of all of their food that's been like, they've spritzed it with water so that it's glistening in their images, and then when you get it, it seems like sometimes it's just been stepped on.
Well, I can say that when I was in college, I did work 6 months at a fast food restaurant. I mean, most people have worked at a fast food restaurant a time or two, but it's still about your care and preparation.
Yep.
I worked at a hamburger joint. Even though it was a hamburger joint and the lines were coming fast, I still took care of what I was putting together,
Hmm.
and it wasn't just slapped and thrown together so that when they opened their burger that they didn't pay the little money for,
Yep.
it looked like something you wanted to eat. So it's the people working in the restaurant industry now.
Hmm.
It's the generation of people that are working that don't care about
Yeah.
much anyway. So I mean, it's a whole thing. It's just a whole lot of things we need to turn around because even we have to think about people. That may be that person's only meal for the day.
Hmm.
That may be all the money that they have. So even though it's a more lower priced meal, we still should treat it like a high dollar meal
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it may be their high dollar meal.
exactly. Exactly. And its goal is to nourish. Its goal is to in some way uplift a person, make
Mm-hmm.
them a little bit stronger, make them a little bit better. So, you can do that with heart too. You can do that
Yeah.
with that desire to truly make somebody's day a little bit better.
Yeah, and I've seen sometimes I watch the different cooking shows. I
Hmm.
try not to watch them too much now because then I'm like you. Sometimes I don't want to go in the kitchen and cook, and I need it to be done in 15 minutes because I just don't want to be in there.
Yep.
But in watching some of those shows, you'll see some people who are Michelin chefs or they have the deep culinary background where they worked in the high end restaurants, but then they wanted to work for themselves, and instead of doing that type of restaurant they came to regular restaurants and created that because these are the ones that feed the nation but still elevate the dining of just a regular diner food, present
Yeah.
something nice to the people because these are hardworking people.
Yes, yes. Indeed. Okay. Well, I had a follow-up question too because for a moment I was just kind of thinking, what was your first job? You mentioned working at a fast food restaurant. What was your first job?
My first job was at Swagman's grocery store.
Okay.
I begged my grandmother to allow me to work because other people in my high school were working, and I was like, oh, that sounds like so much fun. I want a job. And she told me no, I couldn't have a job.
Okay.
I'll give you all the money you need. I was like, but I mean, you giving me $5. I want to go to the mall, Grandma. So I couldn't have a job. But when I graduated high school, I graduated at 17. She was going out of town for something. She's in a sorority, so she's going out of town for something. And I went and got a job behind her back.
Hmm.
And so the day that she was leaving, I put my little apron on to go to the grocery store. And yeah, she had gotten me a car by then so that I can go to college. And she
Hmm.
was like, where you going? And I mean, I had to sneak, I'm going to work. And she's like, what? I was like, bye. Don't you have to go? You about to leave? I'm like, I'll see you later. And I went out the door.
Yeah.
And I went to work at a grocery store because it was like, it's a job. She was so not happy with me.
Oh, wow. I can only imagine.
Right, because she only wanted me to focus on studies.
Hmm.
But I was like, I mean, it's summertime. I'm not in summer school.
Hmm.
This would be a fun experience before I, get back to studying.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I did work. I got introduced to that guy named FICA. I'm like,
Yeah.
who is this dude?
Yep. Yep.
And different types of people. I was a cashier,
Okay.
so checking people out. So as you can imagine, I've been accused of being OCD
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
time or two. So I always packed the grocery bag perfectly.
Perfectly. Yep.
But it was, I'll say, with order and organization. But
Yeah.
it taught me some other things that I didn't know, a little structure. And if you come to my house now and look at my pantry,
Hmm.
everything is righted because
Yep.
you learn it at a grocery store. Turn it and it's all presented.
Yes.
So
You got to
all
present
these
it.
things I picked up. So I went from a grocery store job, then I went back to just regular school. Then I realized, okay, I'm in school and I'm broke. I'm a college student. Ma'am, you're not giving me enough money. I need some money.
Yep.
I then went to the fast food restaurant, did that for 6 months. But the job that I worked the longest while I was in college was at Walmart.
Okay.
Because I was like, if I could get to Walmart, I don't have to stink. Because if you work in fast food, you stink.
Yes. Yep.
You live there. And I could get off at 9 o'clock. And they have they give you, what was it, stocks in the
Hmm.
company.
Hmm.
And I could get a discount on food because I'm a college student. But I did cashier there for 6 months, and then I got to the shoe department. The shoe department left this now for anyone who's listening to this. This was before Walmart went public, okay?
Hmm.
They closed at 9 o'clock. Okay? This is pre-COVID.
Okay.
And so the shoe department closed at 8. So
Hmm.
that meant I could leave before everybody
Oh.
and I could get back to school. because the major that I worked in, I went, studied for, you kind of were in school 24 hours a day. This was before computers. We had to draw everything by hand.
Yeah.
But every job that I've worked at, I've taken something from it. So the grocery store taught me about organization
Hmm.
of, how your pantry should look. Working in the shoe department at Walmart, it taught me how my closet should look and keeping all the shoes right. Everything was, a
Okay.
presentation.
Okay.
And then working in the fast food, just, food standards and cleanliness and,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
order of things and chopping and prepping and, yeah, and then customer service. So everything's, so.
Okay. So obviously, the psychologist in me, my brain is kind of tingling, saying, of course you picked these jobs. Of course your personality would lead you towards, wanting these jobs where there was organization and highly structured kind of
Yeah,
displays and all of this stuff.
yeah.
Because that's how part of how you think. That's part of how, you can make sense of the world. And then, of course, that would feed into your pursuits, going to college and going into architecture. So,
Hmm.
I don't want to jump ahead. So I still will kind of put a pin on talking about architecture, but I feel like we're starting to kind of see that thread a little bit of how we're going in that direction.
We're seeing the thread. My grandmother was a very structured person. She
Hmm.
liked things how she liked them, just so. And I was a chaotic person at home, but I only kept the chaos in my room.
Okay.
But once I came out of the room, she was about prim, proper, and organization. I would act accordingly,
Hmm.
right? Because those are her things, those are not my things.
Yes. Yeah.
But if she came in my room, it was like, oh my God, why does this room like this looks like this? I'm like, this is organized chaos. Don't worry about it. I know
Hmm.
where
Hmm.
everything is. Don't touch it. Because if you touch it, then I can't remember where it is. Because I have an organization in my brain.
Hmm.
But as I got older and more functioning, because at some point the school that I went to switched from regular wear, and this is high school, to we had to wear uniforms,
Okay.
right? So that kind of started formulating in my brain too. Where if I know I had this structural thing to where I know, you can just focus on other things, in life getting ready. So
Yeah.
I'm still kind of structured like that.
Okay.
And that is just how my brain works. If I see organized chaos, if there's a store, it starts with an R, but I don't want to talk about them. Bad, just in case this goes out. There may
Okay.
be a
Okay.
store.
Yeah. We'll leave them
But
off.
it's almost like swap meet shopping. I cannot go in that store and shop because it literally disturbs me. If everything is kind of all laid around and not organized, I'll start organizing it. And I don't work for you, so I'm not about to do all that. So I tend to stay away from the store. I like things to be presented to me, fronted on a shelf, that I know exactly what you have, that I know what I'm going to pick out, and that I can leave. So any flea markets and swap meets, I don't have nothing against them. But if you're not organized, I can't do it.
Yeah. Yep. No, I think there's a part for me. I can handle a little bit of chaos, but there are certain stores, certain environments you go into, and it makes you cringe. It makes your skin kind of crawl, and all you want to do is leave. And I question, sometimes why do they allow that? Because if half of your customer base is saying I don't want to be here, you're not going to sell things.
But they have some people who love it, and it's a psychology behind that.
No.
It's a psychology behind that. Because I have other friends, they love it because they figure that I'm getting a deal if I'm bargain shopping and digging through these things.
Hmm.
I don't see it that way. But I'm not going to put them down if their mentality is how they think about it, because there's a reason behind that. It's a little bit more, it's structured that way for that.
Yeah.
Because a
Yeah.
lot of people like, oh, I found a great find. Oh my God, it's the best deal.
Hmm.
No, not for me.
Not for you. Not for you.
No. Now, if it's on sale, that's fine. And I got a coupon and some other things, and I get to the register, and I can. Oh, we have more coupons. I like that. Yes, but yeah, I don't want nothing that's been on the floor, stepped on, walked over. I don't need a deal because it got a rip on it. No.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking back, some of my earlier jobs, I agree with you. I think you learn and kind of take something away from each of those jobs, even if they weren't glamorous or fantastic.
Hmm.
Um, except for, I think, my very first job. I don't know that I actually took anything positive away from it. And I'm just struggling to actually think of
What
how
was
to
your
even
first job?
spin it into a positive piece. Um, are you familiar with what corn detasseling is? Have you ever heard that term?
Corn detasseling,
Yes.
meaning you're taking the husk off the corn.
Taking the tassel, the top part off of the corn while it's growing.
Okay, well, let me tell you something. I've never seen a corn grown and a tassel on top, so I don't even know what that looks
Yeah,
like.
okay, then chances are you haven't. Okay, so
So describe it to me.
it is one of those jobs that you are fortunate to get when you are like 14 years old. They love to hire people who are, you know, ninth grade, in high school, not quite in the workforce yet, but they can hire younger because it's farming, it's agriculture.
Hmm.
So you get like these droves of like high school students going out early in the morning during the summer. I think it's like late summer or something like that. Or no, not late summer. It's probably like June. I'll just say June. Um, and you go out, and your job is to, with this whole team of people, walk the rows of the cornfields. So these perfect rows of corn, growing every about a foot apart. There's one stalk, and on the top of the corn itself, there's a tassel that you have to pull off. That's literally the only part of the job. You're walking the field, you're pulling off this tassel. And I don't even know, I don't know the science behind it. I'm assuming it's probably so that it grows the right way and doesn't cross pollinate, or you get the right type of corn for the feed that you're giving to the animals or whatever. I don't, not even going to try to research that. But what I remember from this experience, it was awful. You'd be up in the morning. There'd still be dew on the ground and on the leaves of the corn itself, and that corn would rip you apart. Those leaves were sharp. They were, jagged. You'd have cuts up and down your arms, across your body, and so you're walking in like this damp experience in the morning. You're 14 years old. You basically woke up in the morning to do this because it was your first job, and you got to get paid, and you got a little bit of money for it. Um, but I think I made it probably 3 days. I think I made it back the second day, probably convincing myself, maybe it'd be a little bit different. And I'm pretty sure by that third day, I was cursing to myself, saying, there's no way I'm doing this again. And the whole job, I think, normally lasts for a week. But I'm one of those people, and any of the Minnesota people out here who have done corn detasseling, I did not make it the full week. I think I made it 3 days, and I'm okay with that. I don't know that there was anything positive for me to gain, um, but
Well,
it's a job.
well, if you think about it, there are some positives. Let's break it down.
Yeah, go ahead. You tell
All
me.
right. So it showed one thing: had a willingness to try new things and step outside of your box. Okay. And then the other thing it showed, you had a dedication and commitment to wake up earlier than you normally would.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. And if you think about not just you, let's say those people who actually do that for a living.
Yeah.
That's what they do. Okay? And if I'm a business that's hiring, I wouldn't discriminate against a person like that because it would show me that they have a dedication for work.
Yeah.
And they're gonna show up every day.
Yeah.
Because when you have a business, that's what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I applaud the agricultural industry. Um, my understanding, though, is it's also one of those industries where they've replaced a lot with technology and with machines, and
Mm-hmm.
um, even the the basis of the genetic component of like how they grow food, and the corn that they plant. They can control a lot of those probably variables, or whether or not it even grows some of these pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't know the science behind it. Please don't fact check me, but it is it is one of those where I think I was in this kind of weird point in time where this was an industry, this was a need. I don't know if it's still a thing though. I don't know if there are people who detassel in this way.
And when you say detail, is that does it look like a brown corn dog that's sitting on the top? Is that would look like?
Yeah, I'm trying to. I mean, it's not brown at that time. I'm pretty sure it's like green, but it's a part of it that grows at the very top, and I think by pulling it, you kind of terminate like its ability to I don't know, grow additional components to it, and so I think they can control um, the harvest or the specific part of it that grows beyond that. Um, so again, don't know the science behind it, but
Hmm.
you are removing a part of the corn stalk.
Mm. Okay. I was going to say some other things, but I may not say them.
Okay, okay.
Well, I mean, it's not bad if I'm thinking about it and envisioning it. It's um, is it the thing that helps to germinate? Did you say it? Like, can the wind blow in and blow it and germinate other things?
It might. I mean, it might be a part of its reproductive kind of
Okay,
process.
yeah. So you just ripping out the reproductive part and throwing
No,
it
yeah,
away,
yeah.
and maybe. And so when you pulled it out and you put it wherever, what did they do with it? They put it in the trash, they burned it, or was it something they got off it? Like, were there seeds in there to pull out to then create more things? You probably don't remember.
I don't remember honestly.
You're just like, I'm doing this. I'm never doing this ever again.
Yes, yep. I just remember the pain up and down my arms of just getting kind of ripped apart.
Well, and then the other thing it taught you, I'm gonna hit on these points. So it
Hmm.
taught you what? A
Yeah.
willingness to learn new things, a dedication to getting up and doing work, and it also told you, I don't ever want to do this type of job again. Let me make sure I get education so I don't have to do this
Hmm.
type of manual labor because it's kind of painful.
It is. It is. It is.
There you go.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't ever, even in my profession, I don't ever want to come across as feeling like education is elitist or kind of the better option or anything. We need it. We need it all, and different jobs are for different people. They enjoy it. It's their
Mhm.
passion. Um, that was not my passion, and I knew that, and that was a valuable lesson. And I think sometimes in life it is helpful to know what you don't like.
That's true. They would have never gotten me to do that.
I believe it.
Nope.
Hmm.
I don't even like to. I'm growing a lemon tree right now that our uncle gave us.
Yeah.
He's like, you can put it outside. Not me. I'm not gardening.
Hmm.
That's not a thing I want to do. So
Okay.
I'm really struggling trying to do this in a pot in the house, and then I can't wait till the sun comes back out so I can put it outside. I'm like, this, yeah, because I don't know what's in that dirt.
Yeah. Yes.
Well,
Well, I wish we could grow citrus and fruit trees. Um, we can't up here. I mean,
um, you
even
can do
indoors. I feel like that would be a struggle.
it. Yeah, you'd have to keep it as a hot house. I'm struggling, and I'm down here.
Hmm.
But because I'm in Dallas, so you do get cold spurts, and it's like, oh, this tree is going through all kinds of. But then you get to the hot part, and it's out there like, yeah, yeah. Like, can you produce some fruit though? Can I see some fruit? And I know I really did something because I
Yeah.
actually have a black thumb. It's just not. You make it, I'll cook it.
There you go. There we go. We need the people who will plant and make the food, and then we can cook it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I'm saying. You grow it, that's your thing, but I can turn it into something else.
Hmm.
That's worth all the work that you put in for growing it,
Yes. Yes.
and then make it magical.
Definitely.
So, what
Definitely.
was your second job?
Oh, let's see. After that, I would have been a dishwasher for a while at um, like a summer camp area. That was kind of near my house, so it was an easy one to get to. So that was just washing dishes in the kitchen. And then I think after that, I worked at a gas station. Worked there all the way through high school, um,
I
through
worked.
9/11, and that was an interesting point in time working at a gas station because on 9/11, I remember being called in to help deal with gas because everybody was concerned that we were going to run out of gas and that prices were going to be $1,000 a
Mm-hmm.
gallon. And so we had cars up and down, our main streets, endless lines at the gas stations, people filling up things that you shouldn't put gas into. Um, it was chaos, and I remember that kind of vividly. But one of the things I also remember is the price of gas at that point in time. It kind of has stuck in my head. Um, I'm pretty sure right before 9/11, it was right around like $1.10, dollar
Mm-hmm.
five, somewhere in that range. Um, I don't think it was ever under $1 since I've been driving, but I've watched the gas price change over
Mm-hmm.
those years.
Yeah, because I think, yeah, I was in Texas for 9/11, but even different areas. coming from Louisiana, I think when I first moved here, gas was about the dollar, like you're saying. But then when I moved to Texas, I went to a gas station. I was like, "Is this the right price?" It was like 79 or 89 cents. I'm like, "What? Get a whole bunch of this. Wish I had some buckets." Because Texas produces more of
Hmm.
the oil and stuff than I would, see in Louisiana. So it's like, wow,
Yeah,
this interesting.
yeah, that's amazing.
It is amazing. So, working at the gas station, of course, you saw all types of people. What did you do? Were you stocking the shelves, checking them out, just keeping the areas clean? What did you do?
Yeah, I mean, it was mostly running register, checking people out. Um, but you floated around in a gas station, so you would be stocking stuff, you'd be cleaning stuff, you'd be running outside trying to empty garbages. You kind of did it all for the most part. The two kind of specialty jobs that you would do, one of them would be like making the pizzas that go into the pizza warmer. Um, yeah, so did a little bit of that, and then the other one was like basically the stock, the inventory days when the
Mm-hmm.
trucks would roll in, kind of unloading all of that and getting that in place. Um, but I never really enjoyed that, so it really was the register that I got most of the
Were
time.
you ever afraid you're gonna get robbed or what kind
No,
of?
thankfully, I mean we were in a small town, and that really wasn't a concern in that at that place. It happens. I mean, it happens everywhere, but um, never really had to deal with that.
Okay. 'Cause so when the people came into the gas station, it was a small town. You kind of all knew each other.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you often knew everyone. You had your regulars. They recognized you, and the nice thing about some of the small town kind of world, and certainly in Minnesota, is they do look out for each other.
Mm-hmm.
There is kind of a genuine care. Now, I mean, there are other subtle problems kind of underneath the surface,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe episode one we won't quite get into those, but. Um, but you did get quality people who do kind of look out, and so the other nice thing is the gas station I was at was large enough that I think the minimum staff we ever had was three, maybe
Mm-hmm.
two overnight, but three. And sometimes we'd have 4, 5, 6 employees. And so if somebody's going to rob a place that has that many employees, I don't know, they're asking probably for some trouble.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good to know. And then,
Yeah.
yes, maybe not in this episode, but we can talk about that
Yeah.
because I've come from well, I'll say a smaller population being in the South to now I'm in the big city. So there is a difference
Hmm.
between the two and how it affects your psychology going from a place of where if you don't know the person's name, but you may know their family name, and if you wanted to find out information about them, especially when you get to the dating part of your life,
Yeah.
well, I could just go home. Hey, Grandma, do you know this lady? Well, tell me. Well, do you know about their family?
Hmm.
And move into a city where people move here to reinvent themselves.
Yep.
Well, you never know who you're meeting, and I don't have anyone to call and do the round robin of what do you know about these people. So
Yes. Yep.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
different.
It is. This is Between Two Miles
It,
with
it is.
Vince and Deena. And I live
Yay!
in Minnesota. Deena lives in Texas, and there's a lot of miles in between. So it's a play on words. Get it?
Yes. Great pun.
Yes. Yes.
Great pun.
Yeah. All right.
It's
So
so.
another question for you.
Mhm.
Since you're in Texas, I'm in Minnesota. If you were kind of forced in some way, maybe not even forced, maybe you just chose, but if you left Texas and you had to live somewhere else, and I'm going to take Louisiana off just in case that's in your mind, but if, if you had to live anywhere else, where would you go?
In a perfect world, with the right amount of money,
Hmm.
your sister will be in the islands.
Okay, okay. Which one? Name.
I don't know which one, but I've been really well. Jamaica is one of my favorite islands. Jamaica me crazy. I
Hmm.
love it.
Hmm.
But I've kind of been looking at Belize lately
Okay, yeah.
because, of course, it's beautiful, and every island has a poverty aspect about it. So
Yeah.
It just reminds me of being in the South.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that, so I'm not have no fantasies. But um, when I'm researching that island, it's a lot of Americans
Hmm.
that have moved there because the island does have English and Spanish
Okay.
is their language, and it's a lot of English. So you can move there and not be lost, in the culture where you can't understand what people are talking about. And you'll find a lot of expats down there too. And it's a lot of people that are work. They actually work for American companies, but they live down there
Hmm.
because we can do all this telecommuting for things. So you just be wherever you want. But I'm more of an island vibe type person.
Okay.
And I think that also comes from being in South Louisiana too. I've heard someone say that the like the New Orleans and the very southern part of Louisiana is the northernmost tip of the Caribbean
Okay.
because you will find some of that culture that is down there in New Orleans, and some of the food kind of melds, and you do have a lot of island people in history. I'll say
Hmm.
back to the slave trade and all that kind of stuff that did land there and brought that culture there. So I feel very comfortable
Okay.
in that uh, cultural aspect, in the laid back nature of things, of
Hmm.
course, in the food aspect. Come on now,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
yes. And I do cook a lot of Caribbean food too, not just Creole or Cajun food. I cook Caribbean food as well.
Okay.
Um, so that would make me feel comfortable. I don't really like necessarily fast paced things. I'm kind of
Okay.
a homebody anyway. Um, but just a laid back nature, and people seem to be nicer
Hmm.
when you're in Caribbean places. Now,
Yeah.
if I wasn't there, my other passion, I love everything British. I'm
There
very,
we go.
I'm very English. And people who know me, I like English. I like Australians. I think I just like cultures,
Okay.
different cultural things, and I'm kind of more drawn to them.
Nice. I think I'm in my episode notes. I'm probably gonna keep in mind that we probably just need to have like a British like episode where you just tell me everything that I need to know about every British show, every British cooking show, what I need to pay attention to, which shows I
Not,
should just skip.
not British cooking.
Okay. Well.
There's no seasoning there. Unless it's a Jamaican in England, okay, no. But I am just really, I think it's not, I don't think it's about the food because some of their food is just bland. Bland and boiled. I don't have time for bland and boiled. I'm like, okay, can you put that on the grill and smoke that or something?
Hmm.
But just the dialogue, the things they say, and they're progressive, but not as progressive as Americans are with some things. Because I think over here we just a little too buck wild for
Okay.
things. I was at the gym today and they were talking about TV and sex on TV.
Okay.
Just different shows and stuff. I said, well, personally, if I'm watching a television show, I don't need to see a sex scene of any type.
Hmm.
Man on man, woman on woman, man, woman. I don't need to see that. I would like to just use my imagination.
Okay.
Guy shows up, ooh, y'all look at each other, and then you may go behind the door, and then the next morning, you'd have the glow. That's
Yeah.
good enough for me. I
Hmm.
don't need the extra stuff.
Okay. There you go.
But I do find if I watch some English shows, Australian shows, New Zealand shows, they kind of hone in on that from how TV was before,
Okay.
not putting everything so forward in your face.
Hmm.
We're all intelligent. You can figure out what just happened last night,
Yeah.
and you just move on. And I kind of steer away from American shows now because of that. It's just too much.
Yeah. No, I think
And
you're bringing up a. Oh.
I was going to say it's too much violence.
Okay.
Like in American shows, it's full on violence. I noticed that in English shows, because I watch English, Polish, Danish. Every policeman there does not have a gun.
Hmm.
You have to be on a special team to show up with a gun. They
Yep.
actually police by being in the community,
Hmm.
They may have a flashlight, they may have cuffs, they may have the little stick or whatever. But other than that, they're going to talk through the situation to de-escalate
Hmm.
instead of pulling out
Yeah.
and being
It's,
that extra aggressive. I don't like that.
it's an important skill, and I do think in some ways that media perpetuates into it the actual industry of being, in law enforcement. And I would hope in some ways, it is a true reflection of European locations
Hmm.
and how they police. I don't know. I haven't really lived over there or spent any significant amount of time. Um, but I do, I agree with you in some of the ways that, I've only watched a handful of British shows, and normally, they would be like crime dramas or anything like that.
Hmm.
And I love those. They're fun, excellent. But you're right. They don't carry weapons the same way. And the other piece that I 100% agree with is, when it comes to their sex scenes or anything like that, um, it's void of any like real explicit content, and it really
Hmm.
is just it leaves a little bit more for the imagination.
Hmm.
And I imagine if I did a deeper dive into actually watching some of those shows, I probably would enjoy them just like you.
Yeah, because you actually can get into the detail of the story. A lot of times where we are in America, some of those scenes, they don't, when they put those type of salacious scenes in the show,
Hmm.
it doesn't help the scene. It doesn't help the storyline. So why did you put it in there?
Hmm. Yeah.
Why did all of a sudden you're doing a good time, then all of a sudden I see it's like, really? Oh my
Hmm.
God.
Yeah.
Come on now. It's too much, and it's desensitizing people and also desensitizing the youth
Hmm.
as they're watching these things. They think it's just normal, and then you just have all this crazy stuff in the street. That's not normal.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I agree. I agree. It's we have a problem kind of in our American kind of media and just in culture in general. And I think that if we took some steps to kind of tone that down a little bit, it'd
Mm-hmm.
be interesting to see kind of how that plays out over a full generation. But I think we've done quite the opposite. And I'm not on TikTok, but any experience I've had with TikTok definitely starts to show me that there's some pretty explicit things that people are kind of almost mainlining into their conscious.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're the psychologist. You're the psychologist, but I also can recognize psychology in things.
Hmm.
And when we get all of these global summaries of um, with populations going down,
Yep.
and they'll say Americans are so much farther down the list because they're not family focused. They're more into their career. Another component in that is because of the sexualization of everything. They're desensitized to what family is. And if you're in the dating pool or dating scene, you're trying to go learn a person, like learn a person,
Yes.
but they're mainly focused on what you look like. When can they get to the bedroom?
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, I don't know nothing about you. What are you talking about?
Yep.
But they have like that's a category I fall into. I get in trouble for this. I don't care. It's my badge of honor. If I don't know nothing about you, we nothing. No,
Hmm.
But they'll say, "Oh, come on, you're so prudish. You're so." No, I'm not. I have standards for myself.
Yes.
Not saying that another person doesn't, but for me,
Hmm.
we're not going to get into all that. And even if you start talking to me in a sexualized way, I'm going to tune you out
Hmm.
because this is not serious. But then there'll be someone else, and a lot of someone else's, they just jump right on it,
Hmm. Yep.
and it's just send me to another country. How about that?
Yeah. Let's get you over across the pond, right?
Cross the pond, hit me to New Zealand. I mean, I'll go to the Kiwi Islands. Just send me someplace else,
Okay. Okay.
and then
Fair
y'all
enough.
have a place to come visit.
That's right, and we will. We will visit you. Go to an island. We'll come.
And where would you go if you weren't in Minnesota?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I love the idea, the concept of being on an island. I question for me, what would it feel like after I was there for a couple of months? Would it start to feel like would it lose its luster? Would it lose its thing that like makes it special? And you're probably right, but I question those things because because I know, when I think about places that give me that kind of energy, that thing to kind of want to be productive or accomplish something, it does take a little bit of that kind of environmental energy. I love the slower pace as a place to be part time, I think. But I think I would see myself going back into a bigger city. I spent some time in Chicago, loved it there. New York, going out to the East Coast, maybe that would be something I would try out for a while, but I don't necessarily think that would be a long term solution either.
Well, I think that maybe because you were raised in a much smaller environment than I
Mm-hmm.
was, because even though, look, I mean, Baton Rouge is the capital city of Louisiana.
Yeah.
So it's a big little city.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot going on. It's a lot going on. And it's very close to New Orleans and it's very close to Lafayette. So you can get, those all kinds of things in there. And
Yes.
you can always drive to Houston. It's not that far away. But if you're in a place where you're in a very small rural area and then you move to a city like you did for college, you
Mm-hmm.
actually thrived in that city and you learned more about yourself, what you
Yep.
could tolerate, different cultural things, because where you were, there was no culture.
That's true. Well,
So
it
you
had
got,
it had its own culture, but
I mean, yes, it had its own culture, but it wasn't diversity in culture. Let me say
yes,
that.
yes, very true.
So you were able to really thrive in it made everything fire. All your synapses
Mm-hmm.
fire. You're picking up on new things, new dialects, new languages, new people. It's just alive with a
Yes.
different kind
Yep.
of heartbeat. And it didn't close early.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true.
You know what I'm saying? So you could just lose yourself in it, and you can reinvent yourself. And every few weeks or months, new people are coming into that city.
Mm-hmm.
It's not new people coming in Annandale, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's a difference. So yeah, you probably would take it and say, well, I'd like maybe a slower paced country life, like you said, part
Yep.
time. But I want to continue to grow and learn new things. So that's why I'm in the Dallas area.
Yes. 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 Awesome. All right. Well, I had one question that I kind of wanted to throw out to you, just a light question, and then I do want to hear a little bit more about architecture for you. So, the light question that I have is that, one thing I know about you is you enjoy vehicles. You enjoy getting out test driving a car here or there, or exploring different new vehicles that are coming onto the market and all those things. And I thought about this question because I got passed on the road, just driving home the other day, by a Cybertruck. So I wanted to get your hot take on Cybertrucks.
No. Okay. I generally don't like ugly things. That is ugly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like sharp lines on anything because for me, when I see something sharp, it pokes me in my eye.
Okay.
So the Cybertruck pokes me in the eye with the sharpness and the ugliness. Uh, but I recently had an opportunity to watch a video
Okay.
of an older man. He was in his 80s and he worked for a car manufacturer all his life. He retired from that. I don't know if it was Ford or Buick, one of those. So he was a car maker. So he had the same visceral reaction that I'm having. This is just ugly. And what is that? And his was so visceral that if he even saw it on the street, he would like turn. He just like couldn't even look.
Yep.
Until one day, one of his family members pulled up to his community, and he was like, "Who in this community bought that? Oh my God!
Yep.
Ugh, I can't even look." And then she rolled down the window, and he goes, "What? You got that?" So it opened a dialogue because it was a person he could talk to
Okay.
about it.
Yeah. Yep.
And so she introduced him to the car. It was still ugly to him.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't understand why it didn't have a motor. He couldn't understand why the trunk was like it was, but he did find some neat aspects about it.
Okay.
And then she wanted him to drive it. And he was like, "What? You want me to drive this?" So then I got to see what the cockpit of the car looks like. So this is one car I have not sought out to go get in and drive. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. Um, so in order to even drive the car, you have a steering wheel, but you spend most of your time looking at the monitor. So to get the car to go forward, you had to swipe it on the monitor like you're playing a game.
Oh, wow.
That's weird.
Yeah.
And if you want to go backwards, swipe it, do the same thing. And while I'm looking at this, I'm looking like these are going to cause more wrecks on the road because
Hmm.
the principle of driving, you need to be aware of your surroundings and you need to look where you're going. If you're sitting in the car just looking at the TV, and yes, it has 93,000 cameras on it,
Yep.
that's not the reality. You're not in your living room playing a video game. The
Yep.
reality is what you can see, feel, and touch
Yes.
around you.
And your
So,
reflexes are going to be based on that reality.
right. So let me back this up a little bit. I got a newer car recently. I mean, it's not new, but it's like when they put the backup cameras in the car.
Hmm.
When I started driving the car, I never used that because I'm like, I'm used to you look
Hmm.
and you check everything
Yep.
to know where you're going. The only time I use that backup camera is if I'm backing up, literally, and you hear the beeps just to see how close I am.
Yeah.
Or when I first get in the car and you put it in gear, I look to see if someone's coming. Because though when you're doing the head turns, you can still miss a person
Yes. Yep.
jetting out from someplace. But if I do my look and then I look at the camera and you hear the beep, yeah, that's a great component.
Hmm.
But the whole thing about the Cybertruck, and I'm not into Elon Musk either, and an electric vehicle, and you have me stuck on the side of the road. If it
Hmm.
runs out of, I think it's better ways to make it.
Yep.
Any of the electric vehicles. I would never have an electric vehicle.
Okay.
Never. I may have a hybrid one because and that's me and how I'm structured. I'm a planner and I'm very cautionary.
Okay.
I'm gonna need some backup gas. Okay,
Yep. Yep.
you
You
got to
need a
switch.
solution if things go wrong.
Exactly. I'm goal oriented and about solution and results.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
and I'm not finna have to stop all the time waiting 30 minutes to. I can't go nowhere because my car is not charged.
Yep.
That goes against my sensibilities of my own freedom.
Yep.
No.
Yep.
So yeah, that's an ugly car. I don't
Yeah,
like
I
it.
100% agree. I'm not about it. And when that car passed me, I think I had that exact same experience that you were referencing, where something almost jabs you. Something in your brain says this is not right from like a structural and like design perspective. Like it doesn't flow. And I think that was their purpose, was to try to obviously shake up what a truck was and what it looks like. But they did it in
Right.
such an aggressive way, in a non-accessible way. So like very few people can ever own these things. Um, and so you start to judge the type of people who do drive them. And so I think that's kind of where the psychology blends in too. And you were mentioning this, you almost hate the person who's there, just for existing in that vehicle, even though you don't know them.
Mm-hmm. And and it's like, why are you driving this car? Are you driving it because you really like it? Are you driving it because it's a fad? Are you driving it because it's a thing? You know, some people have iPhones.
Yep.
Nothing against you if you have an iPhone. It's
Yeah.
just not a phone for me because I don't need a phone that's going to tell me what to do, what I can do, and I have to buy this and that. I don't have time for that. I
Yeah.
just want to use my phone.
Nice.
And I don't need that much security in my life either. Not about a phone.
Hmm. Yep.
Now, and here's another thing, just in case the world does not know this. Anytime you're standing next to a Cybertruck or even a Tesla, the car is recording you.
Mhm.
I have a problem with that because I went to the gym one day and when I came out, there's a couple people that have Teslas. One was
Mhm.
parked by me. I never really looked at them, but as I was about to get in my car, I noticed the screen lit up and it said it was recording.
Mhm.
So I thought someone had left their kid in the car,
Oh, okay.
right? Because we're in the gym. And so I'm looking like, oh my God, is a child in this car?
Hmm.
Because it looked like it was on, and you're not supposed to leave your kids in the car.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And so I was going to go. Did you know you left your child?
Yep.
I go to a very small gym,
Hmm.
but then I read what it said. It's recording, and I'm like, what is it recording? Who is it recording? What is it? So I got in the car. I was like, for about 30 minutes, I had a visceral reaction to that. Because
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, what is it recording?
yeah.
Because I was also on the phone. Is it recording my conversation?
Probably.
Is
I
it
mean,
recording me? They don't have my permission
hmm,
to have a recording of me.
yeah,
Is this something they can watch later? And I found out that yes, they can watch the
yeah.
recording later.
That brings up an interesting thing. I might have to bounce that off of my attorney friends because, different states have different rules about recording, whether it's one
Hmm.
party or two-party consent. Um, what happens when one of those vehicles drives across state lines? Are they bound by those same rules? It's an
Yeah, because
interesting
I'm
topic.
very interested to know if it's recording the sound because I mean we live in a nation where
Mhm.
cameras are everywhere,
Yep.
but it's not necessarily recording your sound. What is it picking up on the recording?
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't like that. So
Yeah.
now if I see a Tesla, I ain't parking next to it.
Okay.
No, I'm not walking by it. Mm-mm.
You're zigzagging around a parking lot just trying to get to the front door.
I will literally park someplace else
Okay.
just for that reason
Yeah.
because that there's some I feel like there's some type of my liberties that you've taken away from me. And
Yeah.
of course someone will argue, well, there's cameras. Like I said, there's cameras everywhere recording. Yeah, there are, but
Yeah.
on your
Most of the cameras that are everywhere, I mean, they're tied to at least an organization in some way. So if you're at a
Mhm.
store, it's the store cameras or their security systems like cameras. So I feel like there's at least some level of responsibility that goes along with that. But when it's an individual who can literally drive and park anywhere that can record and review that content for whatever reason, that's
Exactly.
questionable. And
Now,
then you add in that whole extra layer of, Tesla, the organization. How much of this data are they just harvesting and eating up?
right, and what you're gonna do with it. Now it's great that you have cameras, the backup cameras for cameras to help you out. Now I imagine this is a safety function. That's why they put that on there. But I think it's a little bit more like you're saying. Now, if the camera would start recording you if you're breaking into the car,
Hmm.
then sure, I'll be okay with that because you engaged that
Yep.
and made that happen.
Yep.
But not for someone just randomly walking by.
Yes.
And then that's another thing that's burning down the battery on the car.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because people are going to always be walking by, so it's always engaged.
Yep. Yep. Well, I
Yeah.
have theories about all of this too. I think a lot of it's built into their subscription models of doing cars. So, if you want your car to be extra safe and know if somebody broke into it, then, here, pay an extra $20 a month.
And
Or,
I'm not about to drive a car where I have to have a subscription for it. No.
yeah, yeah, same. We'll see how long that goes in life, though. I'm flash forward another 10, 20 years, and we might all have subscriptions to our cars. Not Dina.
I can get a bike. Well, Dina keeps her cars for a long time. She got one in the garage. She's 20 years old. So, hey,
Mm.
hey, hey, hey.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. There you go.